What's good, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Street Fighter League post show. This is week 5 with myself, Reynald, and Lazarus. Another banger week of SFL in the United States, man. This week we saw Endemic take on Red Rooster, NASA versus UIU, and it ended with Bandits versus Vortex. So it's going to be a good one to go over. Definitely some things to highlight. How have you been since our last week? Are you interested in anything new, Street Fighter or otherwise?
No, I've been good. Thank you, Ringe. But
I'm still dealing with JP and Ken and Luke. And
exactly, bro. I'm struggling out here. Yeah. Well, I mean, I got to play the Grand Blue Fantasy Rising beta, obviously, last weekend. That's what happened since we last spoke. Because I think I mentioned it towards the end. I was looking forward to it. But did end up playing it. It was a lot of fun. So definitely looking forward to that. Back to Street Fighter 6 now for while we're in the waiting room. But yeah, there was plenty of action to catch up on. Of course, we had I think one of the World Warrior premieres as well for Europe West happening. I think it was last weekend, which was really exciting. I saw you and Jammers there commentating it, doing a great job. So yeah, that was really exciting.
The World Warrior qualifier off has begun as well, right? We started to crown some Capcom Cup qualifiers last night. I was able to do the US West World Warrior regional qualifier with James Chen. Grand finals was Chris T versus Nephew, and man, Nephew just looked unmesswithable the whole tournament. He 3-0-3-1, I think, 801 Strider, or 3-0 in winter semis. Then he 3-0'd Chris T in winners finals, and then Chris T went up 2 games in the first set of grand finals, and Nephew ran it back 3 straight before the reset. So he just looked in prime form. And I mean, you gotta imagine SFL is a big part to do with it, right? It's like a bit of a hyperbolic time chamber for these fellas where they can just go play high level matches constantly, even after the, like exhibition, the tournament part is over, so to speak. They still get plenty of games. So all of these players I see go into SFL, they always come out just so much better than before.
I don't think we actually saw Nephew this week. He was on the
we didn't see him this week,
tiebreaker set, so it didn't come to it. But yeah, for sure. I think it's a perfect environment to get good. Essentially,
yeah.
You are stuck with. Well, I don't know how many off the top of my head, but about at least 15 other or 12 other top players, right? Mm-hmm. Which that's just exactly what you need to get better, right? You're all going to be practicing playing different characters as well. And obviously prepared him for the World Warriors. So there you go, qualified for Capcom Cup. Pretty impressive.
Absolutely, my man. So let's get into it. Matchup 1 was indeed Endemic versus Red Rooster, where we saw Chris CCH versus PR Balrog. And now just in general, I want to talk about, I think Chris didn't have as much interesting stand medium punch usage as he did yesterday in the World Warrior, but he did have something here towards the beginning where I think it was crouch jab in the stand medium punch, which is kind of like a fake frame trap, right? Because the crouch light punch is minus, but he does things like stand medium punch on wake up. It's real interesting, his style again.
Yeah, of course, the stand, it's also just easy confirm in terms of going into that stand medium punch, because for some reason it's 5 frames. I mean, I guess it's the range is pretty pitiful on it, so it is somewhat balanced in that regard.
Yeah, so we saw, I think Chris ended up taking the first game here, but in game 2, PR Balrog really started to catch onto the fireballs. I felt like he had a huge jump in at the start of round 2, and then to end the set, I believe it was a level 3 reaction to the fireball. So Rog definitely, I think he started catching onto the rhythm. He just needed a game of intel.
Yeah, to be fair, I think as Jury, she probably doesn't have the easiest time dealing with fireballs outside of using a fireball of her own. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, it stops you doing what you want to do, stalking. You don't really want to do the Vuha behind it, because if they drive rush behind it, that leaves you really in a bad spot, or potentially a bad spot. Her dive kick's just kind of bad, so without the stock, it's not really worth using. And even with it, you're not going to get much off of it. So sometimes you're a lot better off just saving the stock for this kind of situation. Which I also wanted to highlight, which is, Jury is, I think, obviously very resource intensive. You don't really think of it like that, but, to get any of that mid-screen pressure, which I think is kind of her weakness, if she's got 2 stocks, though, she can set up this, meaty projectile, and it's pretty harsh to deal with for any character.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing also, I like that you bring up her kind of trouble with fireballs, because Nephew and Christy also ran into each other at the 5th World Warrior event for US West, and that's obviously the same matchup, Jury and Ken. And I asked him about it, right? Like, what have you worked on in the Ken matchup? Because he said he felt like before it was kind of in Ken's favor. Now he feels it's pretty even. And that's the level 3 I was talking about right there. It was the tie up the set, not the.
That's pure reaction as well. Like, there was like no buffer behind it at all. He just sort of saw it. Obviously, he was maybe expecting something there, and it was in the back of his mind. But it wasn't like he sold Chris CCH that he was buffering there.
Yeah.
Chris CCH was like, "Oh, I'm free to throw a fireball hit." Nope.
Yeah, that was
so clean,
really strong from Rog. And what if you said was that like I just started working on perfect pairing the fireballs. Like he was like being able to perfect parry the fireballs. It takes the fireball drive rush away from Ken. He can't just do it as freely, and that really lets her play a more like solid neutral, honest neutral against them.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think luckily, while you don't have the best tool to deal with fireballs, I mean, you got a universal tool in that perfect parry, which everyone's been getting a lot better using. So,
dude, and this right here, it was so sneaky, canceling on the first hit of Renko kicks, the forward heavy punch into the drive impact. I feel like that's just something I wouldn't have been ready for it.
Yeah, it's always kind of spooky with these like multi-hit moves that are special cancelable, and you can special cancel like early. Like imagine, Jimmy can't do this, but imagine if he could. If he could special cancel the end of his his heavy punch, and then so you got to watch it out at the beginning when he's doing the rapid punches, and right at the end, that would definitely throw you off. That's season 2, by the way. I'm sure we'll get that one.
Yeah, honestly, yes. Like Jamie's gonna get some juice in season 2. That's something I have no doubt about.
Yeah, but yeah, the thing as well, Jury's jump ins are not like the best either. She's got one of the best in terms of like that jump fierce, like the downward stomp.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what it is. It is like downward stomp, which does leave you a bit harder to punish like poor fireballs.
Yeah, and that's kind of what Rog boiled it down to, right? He was like, all right, he kind of nullified the fireball game. You see the perfect parries, you see the Fuhas doing it. And I think he just played a lot of solid neutral. It ended up ending with Chris CCH. He kind of committed to a little unfortunate block string here. I don't know if he thought he was playing Luke again or what, but we see in the corner here, he kind of he commits to a fireball block string. And yeah, I mean, against Jury, that's just not safe at all. You see the crouch medium kick, 8 frames, long distance on it. And Chris, he shakes his head right there too. Like, I don't know if he rears back, like definitely disappointed that the fireball was just outright punished, but yeah, man, that's why you don't see Ken's going for a lot of fireball block strings in the corner.
Yeah. I mean, my note on this was like, wow, Ken's fireball was actually so ass.
Yeah, like...
I'm sure like most of the fireballs have the frame data just to be safe there at least. But still, might I say, after 2 lights and the stand light kick, like, geesh. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But yeah, like, I think Chris CCH was like, I should have known that. Like, he, like I said, probably got a bit comfortable. Kind of went back to something you might do on another character, and then whoosh, got blown up for it. Yeah, I did want to point out one thing before we move on. If you move to 3725, we talk about these triple lights all the time and how important like the meta around that kind of pressure is. And this is a great way to if you're the aggressor, how to use that effectively for your own sake. And I think it should be coming up. PR Balrog does this triple light string, and cancels the last one, special cancels it into that OD projectile, which is obviously going to be plus anyway, but it also frame traps at the exact time where everyone wants to press,
Yeah. And what's dope about this too is that it grants the juggle afterwards, right? Like a lot of the time, the people, like when you commit to a certain special at the end right there, you kind of just get the damage from that special, like for the Luke example we were talking about where you end in the sandblast. A lot of the time you're just hitting the sandblast and then it's your advantage and you keep the corner and all that, which is great. But you don't get as much damage as, Jury's getting here. It was for an OD meter though, so definitely something that PR Balrog made the most out of.
But at the same time, like, what's your other way of extending the pressure there? Like,
you
see people who often do drive rush and stuff, but this is one bar cheaper, really.
Yeah, no, I thought that was efficient from Balrog, and it's a great point to point out, man. I always like seeing the different answers when the players kind of special cancel on these light strings, when people are trying to take their turn, if they're going to threaten with parry. When do they threaten with parry? Is it going to be after the first one, the second one? All kinds of cool stuff to kind of unwrap around that triple light pressure, which is why we talk about it so much. But yeah, as we saw, PR Balrog made his adjustments, just a punish right there. So unfortunate to go out like that for Chris. But it do be like that. That is fighting games sometimes.
Yeah, it do be fighting games. It was technically it's a mistake of his, so let's have to own up to it.
Yeah, and then we had Flash versus Ajax. Oops, still don't go back far enough here. But yeah, between these two, the Blanca and the Jury, man, yeah, in this first round, I remember Ajax, he just threw Flash to death, bro. I don't know how many it was. Had to be at least 5 or 6, but it was wild just to see this.
I love this part though. Like, it's actually really good from Ajax fidelity here, but also kind of silly because Flash Metroid wake up level 1s, you know, Shadow Earth, and it's plus because the Blanca Chan's right there. And I definitely would have pressed and got hit by the Blanca Chan, but Ajax is it's funny and tragic that he's definitely seen that situation before.
Right? Like, oh man, he's
I got hit
this
last
already.
Time. That's a Blanca special for sure.
Yeah, and to me though, this to me, Flash, this was an annoyed answer, right? Like, he was at such a life deficit, and he was just like, "F this, bro. I'm spinning the bar because I know even if you bait it out, I get my turn with Blanca Chan." But the life differential here, I just thought like most players in this situation would just save the meter. But Flash was like, "F that." I mean, he's on Blanca, so if he ends up getting a hit, gets the corner, he could definitely rob the round. But to me, it definitely spelled
we saw
annoyance.
so many comebacks today this week. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's true. So Ajax does finish it off there. And I really like the way Ajax approached it in the second round too. He was like, all right, I conditioned you with throws in the first round. So a lot of the time here, he went with frame traps, and he pretty much rode it to success.
Yeah, there wasn't too much to say on this one, really. I think he probably Flash took a little bit too long to adapt. He was using way too many balls. He was getting perfect parry a lot. Even if Ajax didn't have the perfect parries, you know, there's so many good opportunities to get so much mileage out of the light ball feints into the throw, just because of how comfortable Ajax looked. You know, trying to check it with you know, perfect parry.
Yep.
We do see him adapt. He does start to do the light ball feints, but it's already at that point a bit too late.
Yeah, and Ajax, we've seen that like parrying is one of his best attributes so far. Yeah, look at it. He's so annoyed, bro.
Just the deadpanness. It's like, yep. You wonder how I got into this mess.
No, Flash head shake was so good. But that's something I think we highlight with Ajax. Almost every week he has a set. His parries are so good, whether it be on the drive rush buttons or in block strings or reacting to some long distance specials like the Blanca ball. He's just on point with it. So in the second game, I thought Flash played a lot better, and he started using air ball a lot more, which kind of, you know, counters throw, also catches the crouch median kick from Jury a lot of the time. So I think that's kind of what was the biggest adjustment that stood out to me.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, it did even it out. And the last game did come down quite scrambly. I think something that I noticed as well. At one point, Ajax does kind of like a Hail Mary wake up level 3. I think it's like 42-30.
Okay.
I'm gonna skip over to that.
Yeah, I'm down.
So I believe it goes to what, to 1-1, right?
Yeah, it goes 1-1.
Yeah, because Metro gets.
Yeah, so the level 3 hits here.
Yeah, and this is just like something you gotta be really, really scared of when your opponent's got CA, especially because look, it does 2 whole bars of drive gauge. So like it's a single reversal. It could have done DP, but he chose the level 3 because if it lands, you literally just immediately win. Compared to like an ODDP where you got to go like that's a comeback that's not really going to happen. But if you do that much damage and you put them in burnout, like anything can happen, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's something to really keep an eye out is, you know, when your opponent has that CA available, not to overextend if it's going to burn you out, because especially Jury's level 3 extremely good for Oki. Like, it's just a scary situation to put yourself in.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I to speak to your opponent a little bit, I kind of want to talk about during the Mena DCQ set, where it's pretty much the ending where Mena goes for the throw on the OD Amnesia, and it's like when JP has level 3, man, I don't know if it's ever worth going for the throw. Like the OD Amnesia combo just does so much. We'll get to that when we cover that set, because of course, like you said, this does go to 1-1. Right before this round, though, one of the interesting things that kind of stood out to me, now I have no way to verify this, I gotta ask Flash, but to me this looked like an interesting setup here, where like you go down with a lightning beast and he immediately goes into drive impact.
Right.
And I'm wondering if this is like a guaranteed drive impact if the opponent tap parries, like in anticipation of the lightning beast, you know?
I see what you mean.
Yeah, so like obviously, obviously Ajax doesn't do that, but like a common thing in this situation is for people to try to parry that, and we always see that bait where Blancas go straight down, the parry comes out, and they walk up throw, and they get the punish counter. So I imagine if you just commit to drive impact as soon as you land, then it's a guaranteed one if they tap parry, because then they'll be in recovery of the parry and just blocking. So that was something
potentially. That's very true. Never really thought about it from that angle. Like, obviously when you go into DI like that, you think you just want to get the wall splat in your corner, but as a countermeasure to like that DI, like could potentially work.
Yeah, just because like people tend to risk the tap parry sometimes there, right? Absolutely. So something I thought about. And then another one, I think there was a really sick punish on the Fuha that I liked here. At least that's what my notes say. We'll see here in a second. Oh, that, yeah. That was wild.
Yeah, the Blanca nail, the wild nail. Like this move is that's Blanca's fireball, by the way.
Yeah, 100%. I'm pretty sure you're the one that told me that, crazy. And I use it ever since you told me that. I was like 100%. That's his fireball.
Yeah, it's a good move, man.
100%. And the only other
block,
really...
but like it's one of those weird moves that's bad on block, but because it extends his hurt box so far forward, it's actually hard to punish. Like,
oh yeah,
because you hit him once and then he goes back to wherever he was, and you don't get a follow up.
Yeah, exactly. Like even if you get a punish, it's like you're not getting the full combo that you're looking for a lot of the time. And the only thing I had besides this, but I think the very end here, where Flash I think is in burnout. Yeah, so this is. Yeah, right here. So I was looking for this, and I believe here, because he does the crouch light punch into the crouch medium punch, right? And the crouch light punch is -1 normally, but since Flash is in burnout, it's +3, and the crouch medium punch I believe is 6 frames, so it's like a 3-frame gap, and pre-jump frames is 4. So if he was jumping, then he got caught backdash, obviously not attack invincible. So just thought I would point out something that he was either flat or jump or backdash from Flash. I'm assuming.
I kind of wanted to mention like how it is so important if you jump back before he's in burnout there. Just as he finishes this combo, he uses the OD to try and kill, but this is where you really got to know your damage, man, because obviously he doesn't kill. Now he's in the corner, he's in burnout, he has to do something. And he's just trying to find a way to close it out. But yeah, it's one of those things where it almost, you don't really notice it, but that's why I really value being optimal in this game. And I think that's how you can be as consistent as you can, is that, if, for example, I know Angrybird, it's easy to say because he's the Evo champ, but he doesn't ODDP there. He just ends the combo normally. He doesn't try and get greedy and, close it out. He knows his damage. And he has those 2 extra bars to defend himself with in that corner situation. And he, could potentially win from there, obviously. Whereas, Flash obviously tried to close it out. It wasn't quite enough. And that's what ended up, paying like dividends for him.
Yeah, and I really like that you bring that up because I want to elaborate on that point in a little while after the Punk match, because Punk kind of gives a post-game interview where Rob's like, bruh, your resource management continues to be out of control. We saw it in Street Fighter V. We see it now in Street Fighter 6. You're like never in burnout. Can you walk me through that a little bit? And he said some things that we'll go over then, and it made me think of other things that he didn't say. So definitely want to get your thoughts on those later. But right now, to wrap up this set, it is going to be Reynald versus BananaKen in the JP mirror. I think it's so funny that teams are just sending the JPs against each other, bro. They're like, who's got the best shot against JP? JP.
The thing is, like, BananaKen's won every JP mirror. So what's Reynald thinking, man? What's he thinking? It must be literally like, I don't want to fight JP. And then Reynald's like, fine, I'll do it.
Yeah, I think it's part that. In part, I've known Reynald for quite some time now. I know him pretty decently. And he's got great confidence. Like, he's one of those players that thinks he can get the thing done that nobody else is getting done. So, to me, this is kind of like a challenge for him, When BananaKen's taking all the JPs down, he's that type of dude that's like, well, I can do it. These scrubs are just getting bodied for no reason. And, we saw in general, or today, BananaKen also just proven superior in the JP mirror.
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, I don't know what it is again about BananaKen, man. He's so comfortable in this mirror. I think he puts a lot of respect on his opponents, and he just plays the matchup like he kind of plays the matchup as if he was playing himself,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that seems to work because he knows how to beat himself. So, yeah, I've got to say, like, this was a pretty good matchup. The Reynald definitely stood his ground, even if the scoreline wasn't quite as even. I'm trying to think. My first point is we need to see more regular amnesia. I feel like this is like a move we see again later on. I was going to bring it up last week as well, but it's like 2 frame. Like on the second frame, it's the parry comes out. So like it's only 1 frame less than the OD. Like, and often things will have that 1 frame gap, or like 2 frame gap, I should say, not for 1 frame. And the people only use it in burnout, but I'm like, you can get so much mileage of it, like rather than just using the 2 bars on the OD, especially like mid screen, you're not getting anything for the regular OD amnesia.
Yeah.
But that 1 bar just lets you play around on the screen so much.
Yeah, it's one of those things too where you find yourself in a lot of block strings where you're like, okay, the next thing that's going to happen, you really have a strong idea of what it's going to be. And that 2 frame gap, I mean, it's or that 2 frame startup, it can exploit so many gaps because of that, right? So I agree with you. I would like to see more usage.
Again, they only use it on burnout, and then otherwise they'll just use the OD one. But like mid screen, like OD or the regular one don't make a difference. So you could save yourself a lot of meter right now. I mean, obviously you want to beat throws and you're not going to use it in those situations, but the only thing I could think of is like, well, perfect parry's there, right? And
that's exactly what I was gonna say. I was like, that's the only thing I could think of too that just discourages them from using it. They'll just parry instead.
Yeah. But I've never seen one do it regular and it not work when they're in burnout. So I'm like, why don't you just use it when you're not in burnout? It probably works too, you know?
Yeah. Probably works even more because people are less expecting it even less. Not that I feel like anybody even expects it when the JP's in burnout. Still, yeah. I feel like hasn't just been seen enough at this point.
When I found out it only had 2 frames of startup, I'm like, well, that's so like a parry with 2 frames startup. Like I'd use that all the time.
Yeah, right.
But I guess we've got a parry, like I said, a universal parry that's 1 frame startup. So
yeah, it just seems to me to be the way. But like a lot of the time, I guess the pro in that instance is that you have to be more on point getting the perfect parry and getting a reward off of it, because the normal parry isn't as big of a reward, while you got more active frames for the regular amnesia to absorb something and still give you a bit of a reward. I guess there's that argument, right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, there's definitely use cases for it.
But like as far as my notes go for this set, I think Banana Ken's level 2 usage really made the difference. He had the Banana Ken special, of course. That's always one to look out for, the command grab in the corner. But yeah, yes. the level 2s were so on point for Banana Ken. One that I want to highlight here is I love the quick little double overhead setup he has here. Right, boom, right? Like you would think that he might go low after making you block the jump light kick, right? And then he just bam, just lets the overhead spike come through for the double overhead rather than like a quick low where you're trying to like switch your block or something like that. Just lets do the heavy lifting. I love the way he uses the super.
Yeah, I think literally at one point, I don't know who it was on his bench, probably PR Balrog or Mono. They say you nearly got level 2 in Spanish or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he's like, they say he nearly got level 2, and about 2 seconds later he gets it and uses it immediately.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's what kind of game we're playing. Like he's just trying to wait for that level 2. He's like, okay, now it's my turn to play.
It's really smart, man. You know, it really hampers what JP wants to do from a long distance. Like all of a sudden you just can't do what you want to do for free. And that goes back to JP being good against JP. It's funny when mirror matches work out like that, but this is definitely one of those.
Yeah. I think a bit earlier on, I probably I wanted to mention, I guess it was like 5120. It has a pretty good answer to the feint from I think it was Banana Ken. But obviously the feint fireball is something we see all the time. And so he goes for the parry here, realizes, oh, I didn't parry anything, so obviously cancels it into the drive rush, and it's faster than Reynald's drive rush. Obviously, if Reynald's just waiting for the check for the drive rush or something like that, he can't check it. But if he tries to overextend like that, which, you know, often JP players will do after they do the feint, because they're like, haha, got ya, and then
yeah, exactly.
But actually Reynald, it was Reynald, yeah. Just you obviously got the plus frames because they just spent it all doing a feint. So
yeah, very smart
kind of answer to it.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And again, goes back to the JP mirror, right? He's very used to that timing where he can kind of react with the feint coming out and cancel it into drive rush and beat the opponent to the punch 100%. Now, another thing I wanted to bring up was, I believe that about 56, a little bit later on in the set. Do you have anything between that before we get to the 56?
Nothing of like note, just like just more memes, I guess. not any analysis. It was like if you jumped to 55-20, I thought this was pretty funny from Banana Ken. So he's like, he's waiting for this drive rush. He's like, I know this drive rush is coming. Like, I'm gonna check this drive rush. He's like, all right, look at this, look at this, look at this. And he's like, oh, fine, I'll do it myself.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
drive rush. He's like, fine, if you're not gonna drive rush.
One of us has to drive rush. It's like the rule of the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we can't go this long without somebody drive rushing.
Got to get the green out of you, you know.
Yeah, 100%. Let me see this again too. And it's one of those things that this is kind of odd to me because I think we see it again. And well, this one was a little bit less egregious because it looked like the drive rush and the jump were just kind of timed similarly rather than like jumping in reaction to the drive rush. Because some people do that, right? They like jump forward to avoid the drive rush or jump back, what have you. But if you're gonna jump forward, man, you can't be pressing these jump buttons. Like rarely, if you see somebody drive rush your jump forward, it's not gonna be in range when they stop their drive rush to actually connect with them. And obviously, we talk about the landing frames being vulnerable all the time. So I think we see that later on as well. And I'm just like, man, bro, like
other anti-air like right now. On the drive rush, like right there. It was really smart actually from Reynald because he waits for the drive rush to be finished because obviously, actually no, he does jab, so never mind. He would have always corrected anyway. But if he like crouch faced immediately there, he doesn't turn around. So yeah, I like the jab to make himself turn around in time.
Yeah. Oh, and then he tried to wait right there, and he just did that a little bit too late. But yeah, and then at 56 here, it's actually going to be coming up right now. So yeah, we get another level 2 out from MenaRD, right? Pretty well defended from Reynald, but this right here was nasty, bro. Drive rush command grab after the crouch medium kick as well. I didn't even notice that the first time, but one of the things that the JPs love to do after making you block crouch medium kick non-drive rush, or they just whiff it in the neutral, they love parrying after. And combine that with the fact that people will parry in response to drive rush anyway, like it was just so smart from MenaRD. Drive rush, immediate command grab, punishes the parry for the remaining health. And look at Rog is just having a ball.
Yeah, it does so much damage. Punish counter, OD amnesia, OD embrace does like 30%. It's crazy. That move is nuts.
So that was pretty much the last note I had here. Like you said, it was closer than the score.
This last round is a bit of just JP domination and obviously OD amnesia.
Yeah, man.
Comes out.
And that gives MenaRD the corner. And I mean, he's very much in control. And he just looks so practiced in the JP mirror. I don't know if he has like a lot of experience in it or he just understands it better than other players or if it's a combination of both. But he just seems to be winning every single JP mirror he's in. And that's such a luxury to have if you're Red Rooster.
Yeah, there's a lot of JPs, man. And if you got someone who can clutch it out versus them, because a lot of the JPs as well are often the team's anchor player, right?
Yeah.
We got people like VxBao, DCQ, right? Who are often the team's anchor. So it is a really important player to have someone who can be like, yeah, I can just run the mirror and I'm going to win.
Yeah, that it just got to be such good morale for the team, right? Like knowing that MenaRD is not only willing to do these JP mirrors, but also he's been the most successful player at it by far. So next up, of course, we have Nasser versus UIU. Started with Angrybird versus Zhen. This is definitely a high-hitting match. And I wanted to talk about DJ a little bit in this set because, do you play card games at all,
Cool.
Lazarus?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So, in card
Play every
games...
game, trust me.
Yeah, my man. So, in
I'm
card
a
games...
gamer.
When you're looking to play competitive or looking to get good a little bit, usually the decks you got to run are the meta decks or the decks that beat the meta, the anti-meta decks, right? So DJ to me is an anti-meta character. Like he's got some things that he does well, like the other top tiers. But to me, the things that he does best are like win the fireball wars and the sway countering every time somebody wants to take their turn back. And like those things to me scream like anti-meta rather than actual meta.
Yeah, I see what you mean. He definitely, even Angrybird's getting clipped by a lot of these minus frames into just cool, which is crazy. But yeah, it's a really powerful move, man. But yeah, I can kind of see what you mean about the anti. He does play very uniquely, and obviously without a low forward that's cancelable, he doesn't play into the meta as much. Even though he's got an amazing drive rush, so he does a lot of that in neutral. But he doesn't do a lot of like walk up, low forward, drive rush, jab into pressure. He has to find pressure in other ways, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so much of it comes from like being able, that was, great reaction to the fireball. comes from that sway and being able to cancel in these weird sequences where people are so used to taking their turn back, right? And they want to press their light button, their medium button, because they know it's time. And all of a sudden he's back dodging it. He comes through with a punish counter that gives him immense damage. It's definitely a very interesting character to watch at high level.
Yeah, no, I definitely like watching top level DJs, and this character is obviously very strong, like you said, but like he's so weirdly strong. It's it can make it quite difficult to fight this guy, like you said, because you do have to be very careful about these just calls, and obviously losing the fireball game into taking 40% because you're hit by an OD projectile, like Jesus.
Yeah,
that
and
hurts.
And to talk about Angrybird, you know, you used Angrybird as the example earlier, right? Where you're like, Angrybird just doesn't OD DP there, right? He like keeps his meter. And that's something that I've noticed from him and more players where they're not using drive rushes for damage anymore, right? Like they're like, I'm going to use it if I have to single hit confirm or counter poke into a confirm. They use it to win the neutral. They're like, I'll just take the damage that's meterless because drive gauge is so important and it allows me to open up the opponent so much more easier if I have it. And it allows me to play defense way better too, that they're just opting for that meterless damage now.
Yeah, it's like if you've got a guaranteed punish or hit, like there's no reason to spend any meter. Like there really isn't, unless it's going to kill, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as you can get Oki, like which most characters can, if you're a good character, that is. Yeah, there's just no need. Like, but use it when you don't know, right? When you're pressing low forward at a range, you can't hit confirm it realistically because they made it that way specifically. So you're doing it to like hedge your bets. You're going to drive rush because on hit you get a combo. On block, you get pressure. So, yeah, it's just really smart from Angrybird.
This was really unfortunate for Angrybird here. I was like, what happened? Why is this a punish counter? So he hits the light kick, right? But I guess it was too deep of a light kick plus the burnout. So the throw is too much block stun. That was rough.
Yeah, I literally I put in my notes, suffering from success. Even the Evo champ gets caught out sometimes. It's like, even though he is super optimal, sometimes there's extra 4 frames of being in block stun really throw you off your timing, and that's exactly what happened there. Yeah,
like, and he hit the jump in high enough that I thought that wouldn't have happened, even with burnout, right? So I'm
sure he delayed it. He knew he had to delay it, and he just didn't delay it enough. Like
man, that was rough. So yeah, unfortunate right there. Break for him, but either way. And then, I had that note down too. In addition to the whole thing we talked about with the sway before, right? It's also one of the best like drive rush baits in the game because it just pulls him back. You don't even end it with like a jab or a throw where you move forward a little bit, right? He just actually pulls himself back.
Right here though, what's the frame data on Just Cool? I've never seen it get punish count like that. Obviously, it's not spaced. It's spaced poorly, but he gets punish counter thrown. I wonder if that's something that consistently can be done. Angrybird goes for the throw, so clearly he knows something about that situation.
Yeah, I guess it was just too close on the follow up, right? Like usually,
wait,
like
did he catch a parry?
Wait, what? Oh, like afterwards, you're saying?
Parry, maybe.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I swear he looked blue for a second. Oh, maybe that's just the drive rush wearing off. It must just be a punish. Yeah, it's just a punish. But I didn't know it was actually punishable like that.
Yeah, I want to look it up now, to be honest with you, because...
Same.
Yeah, because let me see here. What is...
It looked like almost Angrybird walked up, but no, it's just the extended like hurt box from Zhen there.
Yeah, Funky Slicer. Nah, Funky Slicer's -3. So it had to be like the first frame of the parry. We just didn't see it.
It was safe, so I was like very, very weirded out.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. So, yeah, it was just like we literally didn't even see the parry animation. It was just like the first frame of it.
Yeah.
That's a good catch. I didn't even notice that in going over it, so very good catch. Let me see. Oh, and I have one that like just happened right now as well.
Okay.
As one of my notes.
Go first.
Okay, so right here, to me, I'm sure Zhen can normally press a button here, but the drive rush fierce plus the burnout, I imagine his button just got counter hit, right? He got frame trapped by the heavy dragon lash off the stand fierce because of the drive rush, because of the burnout. It's so much more block stun that I'm sure he's like, all right, I've seen this before and I can usually counter poke between, but again, those extra 4 frames just slip through the cracks sometimes.
Yep. Also, let me tell you, why does he try and jab there? Could have done a lot of other things. Could have flash kicked or anything like that. And that flash kick would have worked. But It's because Angrybird's on 1 health, man. Your brain is coming back. I said this last week, but he's like, I just got to jab him. That's all I got to do. I got to jab him. I got to jab him. I got to jab him. Oh, I've got an opportunity to jab him. I just got counter hit because I tried to jab him. It's just your brain, man. You can't fight your instinct sometimes.
Yeah, because it's like, all right, it's my fastest move. I just need that amount of damage. It just seems like the right answer, right? And it's so hard to pull back on that. But yeah, Angrybird clutches that out. We again want to see the sway on display with that first hit from Zhen. But yeah, man, this was a great wrap up from Angrybird. Definitely a great fight from Zhen though as well. I was worried for Angrybird for a little while there. Angrybird definitely just ended up clutching it out at the end, but we went full final round.
I mean, to be fair, you know, I would say Angrybird had a bit of plot armor. He always does seem to have that. But I love the triple counter hit here, by the way. My guy pressing. Does not want to get out this corner. But yeah, he had a little bit of plot armor. I think Zhen had a few executional blunders right at the end there, which kind of threw away that round. But, you know, it happens. It happens.
Yeah, I thought Angrybird had great stand light kick usage, as he always does, especially early on in that set as well, something I noticed. But next up is a BigBird versus a Nuckledu, right? And BigBird bringing out the big woman, Marisa, finally. We're usually seeing the Rashid, but I'm glad to see an appearance from his Marisa here.
Yeah, obviously this is a counter pick by BigBird. He knows he's going up against Guile, and he's going to face him with Marisa, and I think it's good. I think Nuckledu and BigBird were in the same group at Gamers 8. So knows he could beat him before, he'll beat him again, and that's kind of what happens. You know, I think Marisa is a good matchup into Guile, and there are many reasons for that. It's just the damage differential is probably the biggest one. Obviously, Guile's got big damage, but you're not going to find it in this kind of matchup. Like compared to, you're mainly just trying to keep her out, you know. But the problem is she's got like, excellent tools to stay in and deal with any pokes. Like, I think the biggest way to look at it is if you go to like right at the start, he gets the punish counter sweep like on the first round.
In the first round,
look at the damage it does. Yeah, he punish counter Gladius, and just kind of look at the
right
punish
there,
counter sweep.
yeah,
Look how much damage that does. Not really. I mean, you're not really feeling that, right? And then he gets hit by this one Gladius at the end of this round, and it takes off like 20% of his health. It's like,
that's in the round.
That's just kind of why it feels bad. Yeah, it's right here. It's like, ooh. And that was more behind that. That wasn't it. You know, that was going to do more damage.
Yeah, nasty.
And then again, if you go to like 124, oh right here, yeah, it's literally this part. Like he trades with the Superman punch, and look at the health differences. Like this is why it feels like you can't throw booms against her because she can just eat a couple. It doesn't matter. And then if she ever hits you once, you know, it's going to even it out.
Yeah, and I wanted to highlight this specific Superman punch as well because when it's usually +2, but if you crouch block it, it's +3, right? And that's where dude makes the mistake here. It's +3 on block. He goes with crouch medium punch afterwards, which is a 10 frame normal, but it's a 7 frame gap. And dude tries to press crouch medium kick, which is 8 frames, counter hit there. But if he stood up, then it would have traded, right? Ideally.
Only +2 when you're standing.
Huh?
Oh. I didn't know it was only +2 when you were standing.
Yeah, it's +2 when you stand, +3 on crouch.
Oh, yeah. That's good to know. I like the end of this game as well. Like, dude's just walking at... it just gets hit. He's like, get this over with. Get me to the next game. I feel like 100% he's just like looking to throw BigBird or whatever, doing the like, Ume walk up, whatever you want to call it. Daigo walking up and throwing. But yeah, the amount of pushback on the step kick as well, like, made it really safe to put that buffer in behind it.
Yeah, very, very smart right there. Yeah, because the safest step kick is like -4, right? So it's pretty tough to punish. Or -3, I think, is the safest one if you do the heavy version.
But in general, I think dude definitely mixes it up. He ends up being a lot more aggressive. I think that's kind of how you're going to have to play the matchup.
Yes.
And that's where he starts getting a lot more better mileage out of these matchup.
Yeah, and he had some great reactions to the various like Gladius or Superman punch with the flash kicks. That was starting to be a lot more on point. I really liked his corner pressure here because he just took advantage of the Marisa only having 1 bar, right? So she's got nothing to beat grabs. So he just starts throw looping. He does it off of different tick throws. He just goes in raw. Like a lot of good just throw pressure here to kind of end the set, knowing that she's going to have to make like a hard read on a jump or something like that to kind of get out of that pressure.
Makes it happen. That forward medium punch is just incredibly good against Guile. Like it's really fast for how far it moves forwards, and so it's going to interrupt a lot of the ranges where Gar might want to throw booms, and yeah, having a move like that against Gar is really, really impactful.
I think forward medium punch is definitely one of the big buttons to highlight in this set for many reasons, because he lands it a lot, and it's like you said, it takes up a great amount of space up against Guile. It's one of the tools that I think nets BigBird most of his damage, but we do see at the end a big whiff punish on it, and we'll get to that when we get to it. But next up for me, I have like a times tab at 25.59 to go back to a little bit right here. I was just impressed with how ready Do is off these bazooka knee trades. Because like you highlighted to me before that, like, if it's not spaced towards the end of it, it's just 0 on block, right? So it looks like 0 on block to me here, and we see BigBird presses button back, trades because like 0 on block, right? But immediately this dude Nuckledu is just crouch medium kick again, right? I know he's been in this situation a lot. I have to imagine most Guile players have. So yeah, I just like to see the answers after trade scenarios like that.
I don't know what it is. Like, it's 100% even after that trade scenario, because they both press light buttons, they both get counter hit. But I mean, even as a Guile player as well, I always win afterwards. I don't know why. I'm like, is it even? Like, why do I always win? Like, do people just press the wrong button? I mean, here you press the wrong button. You press forward medium punch, and Guile's crouch medium kick is just faster. So it ends up getting counter hit, but it's one of these things where it just happens. It just works out every time. I don't know,
dude. So every time I do it as Ken, or I see a Ken do it when I'm watching footage, whenever they do a light dragon lash against a burnout opponent, you know, that's 0 on block, they both trade with a light button, and the Ken always wins after the trade too. Like, I don't know, like it's so weird. It's
fishy's going on.
Yeah, it's exactly like this, where you trade with a light button after a 0 on block move. And yeah, I don't know. Ken wins every time I see it. Every time I do it, Guile wins every time I see it. Yeah, it's interesting to point out.
I mean, Guile does have some really long range buttons, so everyone always has to press like slower buttons to contest with his. But like, even as I played other characters, and I realized how privileged like Guile's crouch jab is. It goes so far compared to compared to like someone like Ryu's or someone. I just couldn't find that range to actually ever use that crouch jab, whereas Guile just goes halfway across the screen, it seems.
Yeah, having a long range jab is such a privilege in this game. Stand or crouch, like, just puts up a space. It's legit like a boxing jab where you kind of wall your opponent in. Beautiful stuff from Nuckledu right here. I also have another timestamp. If we go a little bit forward, the ye olden V trigger freeze from Nuckledu.
I literally had this as V trigger activation anti-air. Like, he bringing it back. He's like, oh, I get time to charge, baby. So OP. I love that.
I was like, oh man, I just like it, especially because, like, obviously you spend 2 bars for it, but bruh, in a situation where you only got a pixel, it's Marisa across the screen. This was so worth it to just spend the 2 bars, guarantee your anti-air, be chilling, especially when you're gonna put yourself on set point.
The whole round was just a nasty, crazy comeback from Nuckledu, just with that pixel of health, just making it happen, making all the right decisions. It was really clean.
Yeah, we can go back and watch the comeback. Actually. Oh my goodness, bro.
Level 1, he could have killed. That's so unfortunate.
Oh,
wanted to save the meter for the next rounds, and the burnout versus Guile. He's got, you know, solid puncher. It's just gonna go downhill in it.
Yeah, I was like,
that was like pixel to the corner.
The shoulder blade brushed the wall. And then, yeah, perfect right here. Just load up.
You see BigBird was like, God damn it, like, oh, why am I so greedy?
Yeah, man, her real bad. Oh yeah, and then in the final round here, was it this one? Oh, this is not the final round, right? BigBird wins.
Go back a second.
Okay.
Like, this punish counter jab into back fierce. Like, go back. Like, right at the start of the round it was.
Oh, okay.
But this is the meatiest jab you've ever seen in your life. Like, that shouldn't only works because it's literally hitting on the last active frame.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Because it's hitting right on the tipper of the knuckle. Like, it's normally only +7, I think, on a punish counter jab. And it was +9 there because of the meatiness of it. But it was like, again, it wasn't meaty. It was just space like that.
Yeah, that is bananas. Actually, great catch, bro. That's why. And the fact that dude was ready. Like, again, how many times has dude been in these situations, bro? Like we said before, like being ready for the trade off the bazooka knee in that scenario. This one, like knowing that like a shallow drop. When I try to driver's throw and it doesn't work out, usually from that distance, I'm far enough away from my jab to hit on the last frame. Like what? Like huh? How do you know?
I will
all
say
this?
like he's probably pressing the back fears on block or hit there. Like you know.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But like it's one of those where if it's on block or even if it wasn't at perfect range or spaced or you know so it wasn't +9, you're probably doing it anyway because he knows that the fierce, which is what you'd normally try and punish counter with, won't reach. That's the more impressive start, is that he knows that range where he's like, I'm gonna do this because I know the only other option I got to combo won't work. So if it does work, then that means, you know, I get lucky. Look at how much drive gauge damage this whole sequence does as well, by the way. Like, oof, obviously the clutch thing, but he gets that jump in and basically this is almost all gapless. He just jumps in, gets a heavy kick. That's a boom. Okay, trying to parry to get the back. At that point, it was over. This is a true block string.
Yeah, that was wild stuff. And then of course, BigBird, he's like, all right, he spins the level 3. And it's not that bad because dude just activated as well, right? So we go into this last round with almost no meter on each side. But really the big thing for me was this whiff punish right here from Du on the forward medium punch. Yeah, like that was so sick. Because, yeah, he backdashed right before it. And he knows, right? We talked about it. This has been one of BigBird's best tools in the set so far. It's the thing that's netting him a lot of damage. And for Du to clutch this out right here, the backdash to make it whiff in such a clutch round, the final round, I was like, all right, this dude's different.
Like, you just never see anyone using backdash like as a proper mobility, you know. Backdash feels really weird in this game to use at all because there's no air resets, like, so it's really risky to go for. But in this situation, he's like, he knows that spacing where he's like, okay, I did my -1 block move. He wants to kind of get, you know, some pressure going, so I'm gonna backdash, create some space, and whiff punish. So it was just super clean.
Yeah, I was really impressed with that. And to do it in this final round, and that's what gave him a significant lead, right? That net him a good combo. That allows him to play the Guile game where he's comfortable throwing booms on the other side of the screen, and he just rode it to victory.
Yeah, at this point, obviously, chips a factor. You can't really do anything. Though, to be fair, BigBird almost scares us for a second here.
Yeah, it does get scary for a moment, for sure.
I mean, at that point, you're gonna. I think that level 1 chips as well, though. So you'd have to do a neutral jump to bait it or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Du woke up reversaled against Marissa way too many times, and it worked out way too many times. So either he had a read on BigBird, or you got a bit lucky there. But you know, it worked out. So it was really impressive, especially considering that was, you know, BigBird's counter pick.
Yes, indeed. And we got Punk. I didn't even notice the 100% win rate the first time. But yeah, so we have Punk versus VxBao to close out this set right between Nasser and UIU. And to me, before we get into this, one of the things that stood out was that Punk represented a fair amount of empty jump, especially early on against JP. And I really like that because I feel like if you empty jump at the right spacing, the crouch heavy punch doesn't have a significant horizontal hitbox, and like only on the first part it does. Like once it gets to that part where you try to actually anti-air with it, it's pretty much at JP's kneecap. Like it doesn't extend beyond him. It's only the little bottom part that really does. So a lot of the time you could get into that sweet spot where the crouch heavy punch will just whiff and you can take advantage of it. But it seems to really mess with VxBao later on, where in the last round he like lets Punk jump on him like 7 times without any anti-airs. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's obviously, I don't know how Punk does it. He just never gets anti-aired. Like, he's just, no one can get a read on his jump timings, or obviously it's Cammy as well. But yeah, he just seems to be able to exploit that from his opponents, and kind of once he especially knows it's a weakness. Yeah, probably the first thing to jump to is 131.45. We see some interesting interaction. He sees the jump. VxBao reacts by doing a standing grab, which was probably meant to be like a jumping air throw, right?
Yeah.
Which we'll see coming up like right here, I think. So he sees the jump and then he throws. So like he probably tried to TK the air throw, just unfortunate. But I just want to slightly point out, obviously that was probably your best answer versus a lot of Cammy's, you know, air options. It will catch the dive kick, it will catch regular jump. But after you missed it that once, it's like, oof, you kind of don't want to do it again.
Yeah, it really feels like that one time he missed it kind of discouraged him from trying it ever again. And yeah, like you said, it's a great answer for Camby, especially with your back to the corner because it's side switches. So, but man, I would have really liked him to try it again because, yeah, I like that point you made because I don't remember him ever trying it again.
Didn't really have any fun spacing for it as well. Obviously, you want to do it when you're in the corner. I think one thing I found quite funny, I think VxBao wins this game. Yeah, wins this round even. Because Punk is like, he gets a life lead and he's like, starts to try and chill out a little bit. And I think Punk's the type of guy who wants to zone the zoner, you know? He's like, hey, you do this to everyone. I'm going to try and get you frustrated by playing lame and slow. Yeah. But it's just unfortunate that, Street Fighter 6 is just kind of not that kind of game. Yeah. Like right here, he's taking his time to come in, doesn't want to overcommit with any drive rushes or anything like that to close it out. It's like Street Fighter 6, your offense is good enough that you want to overextend because you'd rather close it out than have to potentially defend against the opponent.
Yeah, like you mentioned, and when JP has level 3, he's just so dangerous, right? Because one mistake, you get burnt out. And a rare moment of Punk actually like getting burnt out by the opponent, right? He drive reversal, so he burns himself out there, but he was going to get burnt out if he had kept holding the block string. So yeah, it was one of those things where you just got to keep that in mind, right? Punk, it was kind of uncharacteristic. He says afterwards, I don't like to do anything that puts me in that orange. And he pays for it dearly right there. He puts himself in orange with a raw drive rush. Then he gets punish counter. Then he gets level 3. And all of a sudden, he has less than a bar left. And yeah, you could see how quickly it adds up.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of what Punk does so well, though, at the same time. I think he does immediately adapt here. I think there he's like, all right, and then he starts just playing more aggressive. He's just like, okay, I don't want to make that mistake again, and starts just looking to run down VxBao a bit. And I think that's something that I think VxBao struggled to deal with. We know VxBao, he uses he's one of the best at using the departure spikes like defensively, right? He kind of sets him up and waits for his opponent to like kind of make a mistake into them. But something that Punk did and something that I guess Cammy's good for as well. Just pushing them off the screen. So he just set them up, and then Punk would just drive rush in with the spin knuckle, push him off the screen, and he's still waiting for the spike to come in, but there's no spike anymore. So the way that VxBao wanted to play, like Punk had it, wrapped down. He's like, okay, I'm not letting you do that.
Yeah, it's specifically good against VxBao, as you said, because he gets so much mileage off of the departure setups. So my first little timestamp here is after this game, right? Yeah, like you said, VxBao takes the match. We get into this next one. I think it's this round. It's the second round into this game. Punk clarifies after. He was like, nope, intentional, completely intentional here. Like, don't get it twisted. I am that good.
I'm him.
Like, literally, he was like, no, I am that good. Stand medium punch whiff from JP. Whiff light drive rush cancel whiff punish from Punk. Are you serious, bruv?
Like, yeah, I meant to do that. And then they're like, nah. And he's like, yeah, I'm OD like that. What?
I saw it on Twitter a long time ago. What do you mean?
Yeah. But that's just like, again, his creativity. He's like, he saw it on Twitter a long time ago. So he's like, I'm just going to do it now.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Like, who else is like that? He's probably not ever done it before. He's just like, yeah, I remember someone on Twitter doing this. Let me try it out. Like, oh, okay, it worked. Nice. Doesn't do it again, but
yeah,
well, he doesn't need to.
It was just wild to see. I think he tries it again later, but it wasn't like on stand medium punch, so it doesn't catch JP in time. But yeah, man, it's wild to see what this dude is capable of. The crouch medium kick from JP felt like it was getting tagged by dive kick a lot. Just a lot of aerial superiority from Punk and the Cammy. Like you said, establish the empty jumps early. This is the conversation right here. Is that, did you do it on purpose?
Yeah, jab, drive rush to whip punish, medium punch. That's a real tech.
Yeah, of course you do.
No, that's on purpose. Yes.
The Angrybird, the way he's really?
He's like, really?
No, that's on purpose. Yes. Yes, that's a real thing.
He just does like, okay, boss.
Like,
okay,
look
bro.
at the eyebrows.
Yeah, he's like, okay. Good shit, man.
Oh man.
To be fair, how the way the set ends, I don't think you could ever question Punk again. You're like, all right, okay, boss.
Yeah, right.
Whatever you say.
And you talked about the dash and the spin knuckle. I have a moment here where I thought it was just like so good, right? sets up shop from full screen. And immediately after he blocks that spike, he's like, now's my time. It wasn't even drive rush, I forgot. It was just dash into spin knuckle. But he's just so confident in all his decisions and what he expects the opponent to do. Just immediate, right here, immediate dash after blocking that. Spin knuckle avoids the second one, kills him off afterwards. Like, so strong, bro.
Yes, I mean, obviously that's why I think JPs don't like the matchup quite as much.
Yeah.
Just has good ways to like close. When she's full screen, like you still have to be worried. She doesn't just have to work her way in. She can just like get that dash and into the spin knuckle. You do have to be aware. There's that trying to whiff punish right there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
You do have to be a bit aware of that, but at the same time, you know, it's Punk, so can't blame him.
But now
right there, that spin knuckle, you look at, because it travels her forward and her opponent forward as well, because she's like sticking on him. It just pushes the departure spike clean off the map. Like you'd think from there it'd be safe, but nope, just immediate dash up spin knuckle.
He's like, I know how to get rid of that. I know how to not worry about it. And man, this last round, the amount of times he jumps on VxBao, it's just astonishing. Like, say, one right there, not anti-air. It just keeps happening throughout the round. Like
there, you know why he got the jump? Because he was expecting the spin knuckle, so he tried to check it.
Yeah, that's true.
He like preemptively did the crouch medium punch there.
He did, you're
and
right.
then there's a jump.
Oh, man, that was a great switcher from Punk. That was a timely.
Because he does the dash as well. He does dash
and
then jumps rather than the spin knuckle. God, he's so good.
Exactly. As soon as VxBao sees that dash, he's like, all right, he's spin knuckling, he's doing something. But no, just jump avoids it entirely.
And again, that's what VxBao wants to use. He wants to make use of this, but not getting the chance.
Yeah, I just want to see. Yeah, I just want to see the jump start, bro. Like back to back right there. Like they just keep happening throughout the set. Even level 2 right here. I don't think it nets him too much. Does get the low, but doesn't get the combo. Had another chance as well, but he just seems a little shook up. By the way, Punk's playing again, a jump. Going unchecked right there. He was committed to nothing before that either. It's just the empty jumps, the dive kicks. It causes so much hesitation with trying to anti-air her.
Yeah, I think there's that. Cammy's like kind of the perfect character for Punk for those reasons, right? It's just there's just so much, and he's making use of everything. And look at this. That's just beautiful. What insane like knowledge of meter management right there.
Exactly. It was beautiful because he burnt him out on the hit he went into before super, right? Like my man is just beautiful calculations right there.
Again, just that creativity, just landed that jump in, was like, oh, I've won, and he just does it, you know. Nothing's premeditated with him. It's just on the fly, you know.
Yeah. And so after this set, this is kind of when I wanted to talk about a little bit about the drive gauge conservation and what it means overall, because we get the Punk interview here, and yeah, he talks a little bit about it. We can listen to the interview here for a second.
Not really.
This was about VxBao.
No, they don't. No way.
Mena and some of the guys is like, your meter management is always crazy. You rarely in burnout, and even back in Street Fighter 5, y'all remember Punk will always have like CA at the end to close out rounds or to go through fireballs with Kieran. How conscious are you of your meter management? And do you study that when you look at the game?
Yeah, I'll always make sure, like, you very rarely see me go into combos where I go into the orange part of the drive gauge. I don't really like to be in that because that's like, I feel like it's telling me it's the danger zone, right? So I don't really like to go there. I always try to make sure if I'm a drive rush cancel is either going to kill or I'm staying with the 3 bars.
And now you guys just walked away with 30 points right there. That moves you.
So yeah, and you know, he makes it clear, right, that's kind of his intention behind his combo choices and his pressure sequences and everything he kind of does in the neutral. And after I listened to that, I also thought about just his matches and seeing him play a bit, and it made me think that it allows him also to play defensively a little more solidly than I think a lot of people are playing in this game right now. Because a lot of the times when you're using those drive rushes to be offensive, whether it be the drive rush cancel, whether it be ODing on the raw drive rush, if those offensive gambits don't work out, then you get put on the defensive, you're dealing with block strings, you're dealing with a super that's draining your drive gauge. That's how a lot of people end up really low, right? And then the desperation mode kicks in, where defensively, you have to start betting on something. You gotta use your last bit to OD reversal out. You gotta try to perfect parry this. You gotta try to put a super on the table because you don't wanna lose your drive gauge. I feel like because of Punk never being in those scenarios, he just gets to play defense the way he wants to, and he never really gets forced into those gambits. And a lot of the time, those gambits are much more predictable, right? Because like you are expecting the opponent to do something to avoid getting burnt out. So I was just like, man, you know, it really feels like he plays defense way more solidly because of that.
Yeah, I mean, when your meter is tied to essentially your like guard bar, right? As if you want to think about it like that, when you use it all offensively and you got not much left defensively, you're gonna think the defense is really weak in this game because you're never gonna have a chance to block. Whereas if you give yourself a bit of time, like I said, if you've got enough, it's hard to lose it. Like, it's hard to lose a lot of it fast. There's not very many characters that can just put you in a position where they're constantly plus and you have to choose to do something, you know, because of the drive gauge, you know, you're not taking any chip, nothing like that. So in reality, this is giving you the most time out of any other Street Fighter game to do something. But it's just depending on how you got yourself into a situation where you're low on drive gauge. I think obviously you can lose it from things like supers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that is a huge element of it, is that sometimes you will be in that happy place with the 3 bars or 4 bars, whatever, you know, whatever we call it, happy place.
Yeah.
And then you get hit by a reversal super, or you get hit by a low forward drive rush on wake up into level 2, and now you're in the corners versus Ken, and he just took, you know, a bar off of you, and he got like maybe an extra bar for a punish counter, something crazy like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, we saw that was the
That's when
way
it can
that
feel
Punk
bad.
actually got burnt out, right? It was that like
Yeah, exactly.
he did like a raw drive rush that put him just in orange, just barely. Like, he didn't even fully like take away down to 2 bars or anything like that. And then after that, he got quickly punish countered, and the punish counter comboed into super, and then he was less than a bar left, and he got burned out on the subsequent block string. So he just really puts himself in that situation, though, and that allows him to be more unpredictable on defense, because people are not going to know when he's going to try to pop off, what he's going to try to do, because he's not in danger of being burnt out.
Yeah. I mean, you're always going to expect someone to do something if they're in burnout and or like are about to go into burnout. Like, a lot of people like to just wake up DI with the last bit of their gauge, or wake up reversal, OD, DP or something. And yeah, well, when you've got a lot more meat to play with, that suddenly you don't know when they're going to do it, right? So
yeah, it really feels like that. And the conservation not only allows him to get those clutch kills that we know him for, like he always has meter to get that kill combo, but I think it just allows him to play defensively way more freely than a lot of people are finding themselves having to deal with right now. But anyway, that was the end of the Nasser versus, who was it? The UIU set. Very, very good set. And to end the day, it was Bandits versus Vortex.
Now,
Vortex. Forgot to mute before going back. Shout outs to Rob, always doing great hosting duties as well. And we started with, what was it today? It was, we had Xiao Hai on the JP going up against Xian on the DJ.
yeah, I feel like this is the end of the day set, so I always have less things to talk about.
Yeah.
It'd be like that. We see repeat like situations and stuff. So this one, I mean, it was a lot of, you know, it's JP versus DJ. But one thing I noticed that I don't know what else to say, you know, bro. We've seen these characters all day. But something I liked from Xian is like playing DJ. You know, you got to play around having weaker anti-airs when you don't have charge. And looks like, especially specifically in this matchup, he likes doing the air. So we'll see that a little bit. I don't know if happens in this round. He's just getting through.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember the specific moment you're talking about. He might have done it a couple of times, but he does represent some air to air in this set. I really like the way he kind of played around crouch medium kick. My first little note here, it's like, I think the only actual time, I have 2 timestamps. So the first timestamp I actually have here is he blocks the drive rush crouch medium kick, right, which is like +1 on block, and he just does the sharp knee. I love that. I feel like the sharp knee beats so many options that JP is going to go for after making you block drive rush crouch medium kick, that it kind of changes up that post situation a lot.
Yeah, for sure. He's not really in range to like gel you down with a jab, so you're free to jump, essentially. And I think that situation comes up again later.
It does,
and I think we see Xian make an adaptation. He doesn't go for the knee, right? Baits out the anti and gets a punish, which was pretty clutch.
Yeah, it's really cool. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that is the actual other timestamp I have. If you want to jump to it, you are
yeah,
correct.
for sure. I think these are the most interesting parts of the set.
Yeah, so we see right here, Xian, he gets the knockdown, goes for a jump in on this pressure after this. Yeah, and yeah, look at that, my man, Xian. Or excuse me, my man Xiao Hai. He wanted the crouch heavy punch right. And this is perfectly timed if the knee is coming down. Like, honestly, perfectly timed crouch heavy punch if it's the knee. But it's not. Xian has harassed him enough for him to think about it and just lets the full jump rock to get a huge combo that I think sets him up to win the round, right?
I
gets the throw right there.
Right.
So that was so good. Those were the two main timestamps I had because, yeah, that was like the coolest thing to me. And then, like I said, there was another time where Xian did like a full screen drive rush into drive impact and called out the crouch medium kick from Xiao Hai trying to check.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, he's got an idea of how to deal with this crouch medium kick.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something you're going to have to learn how to deal with. It's incredibly strong, especially without having like a cancel low forward for yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely. So and then we see the way it's broken down, right? I think, does Xian bring this one back? Oh, no, that's right. He tries to drive impact. Yeah, he doesn't have the health for it. He got him to the wall. It was so close.
Neutral jump into forward jump.
I don't want to get stuck, bro. Please.
Yes. But it's smart. I mean, look, he does a jump back heavy kick. Okay, you can't DI him then.
Yep.
He does jump back medium punch. Yep, he's still going to hit you. And then he does forward jump. And that's when he finally decides to DI. But yeah.
Yeah, that's the key thing to keep in mind, right? Is that all these buttons, they're landing with stuff that if Xian at any point does commit to the drive impact, he's going to eat a jump normal. So very, very smart just management right there from my man Xiao Hai. So that was pretty much that said, right? I don't have anything else to say about it. Next up, it was Caba versus NL, the Gao versus the Luke. And man, NL, he's looking like a beast, honestly. I feel like NL is going to go very far at Capcom Cup the way he's looking right now.
But like Caba just could not keep him out. I think it is annoying a matchup for Gao, I can't lie. You know, because Sandblast is pretty good, and also just all the forward advancing normals of Luke can just snipe out booms, just make it really hard to play the footsies if you have to play it. And then I think like NL is just so decisive as well. He finds those. He's the kind of guy who just finds those jumps against Gao that no one else can find.
Yeah, literally, I got two notes for this match. That's it. The one is a timestamp where I think it's coming up right now. Where so he gets stuffed.
I love. He gets time to charge the level 1 because of the super flash. That's so funny.
That's a nice tidbit right there. And then it was this right here.
He does it again.
Where, like, he's literally, as soon as he gets knocked down from this, I mean, like, look at his drive meter, or look at his meter, right? He's a pixel or two away from getting a level 1. So he blocks that there, blocks it again, still doesn't have the level 1. This is all he's waiting for right now, is to get this level 1. Dished him this fireball to try to make him block a sandblast, right? As soon as he blocks the sandblast, he gets to level 1, bam. Like, I'm gonna let the super rip. Like, you could tell NL was looking for that.
It was probably one of those things where maybe like Caba knew he didn't have level 1, so he was free to throw his fireballs, and then didn't realize he got it right at the last second as he threw that boom. So it's one of those things where they just catch, you're not keeping an eye or close eye on your opponent's resource, but whereas he's like laser focused, like you said, that was the only thing he was looking for.
Yeah, and besides that, I mean, literally my other note is lots of money button and good reads from NL. Like that's all it was, right? It was like good reads like this, right? He jumped the sonic booms, he was baiting reversals, and then in like these trade scenarios where you got to kind of slug it out, the crouch medium punch did what it do.
That's as well, like it's what makes Luke very good as well. It's just that his damage is just so high. Like it's so 100%. Incredibly high that same as in the Marissa matchup, like it's hard to play the boom game. It's hard to want to play the boom game because you're not getting much compared to what if he just guesses right on the jump in, right? If you flash keep him out of the air a few times, it's only going to be if you get hit once, it's going to be evened out. Like it doesn't feel good. And look at this, already being put to the corner without even being hit, basically.
Yeah, like he just gets mauled constantly. As soon as he gets out of the corner here, NL just like, it doesn't matter. He gets the neutral jump bait. And it's tough, man. It's tough, especially because I feel like I see people die to this too when they wouldn't die from throw. Because that's when people go for it, though, right? They want the big damage for the jump bait to really kill you if you end up teching. And it happens quite a bit.
I mean, you tech there because you don't want to get back thrown into the corner again.
True.
But like, you still like, do you tech? Like, it's hard to say. If this is Street Fighter 5, you probably don't tech because then at least you don't going to be throw looped immediately. But
yeah, and there's
I don't
no
know
drive
if you get back
impact
thrown there. Back throws are not quite as not quite as advantageous for most characters. So
Yeah, good point. Like, I think that does encourage the person to tech a little bit more because they don't want to get back thrown into the corner. That was definitely a strong point, because I think Caba, he's pretty disciplined, but right there with that little extra incentive, I could see anybody cracking.
Yep. It's not like he doesn't know the matchup at all either. One thing I need to see, I had it in one of my notes on one of the matchups. It might be the next one actually. Yeah, it is. I'll save it for the next one.
Is that it's a Luke thing? It's a Luke thing?
Yeah, it's a Luke thing.
Okay, so we got, yeah, and wrapping it up once again, I'm telling you, he is looking so strong. And to in the Bandits versus Vortex set, we had MenaRD in the building going up against DCQ, a match that, man, DCQ just played a slow, non-commitment style prenup on all the neutral, and he just reacted to everything.
Yep. I mean, let me bring up the point then right there. You saw the charged flash knuckle, the heavy flash knuckle. Like, I need to see people start DIing it, man. I just need to see it. It's not one of these moves that, like, it's not like Dragon Lash where if you're not on point and you miss the reaction by like a couple frames, you're gonna get counter DI'd. Yeah, it's nothing like that. Like, you just press it when you see it, you'll get the punish counter. You know, it's only when they got level 3 is it real. Yeah. I don't know. It happens so much, and it happened right there at the end of the other set. I'm just like, this is definitely a case of, you know, when you get to this level, this high level, you feel like DI is such a bait, like you never want to do it. Mm-hmm. And I against think some things, like, it is the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's kind of, I think it fools our mind a little bit, stuff like the flash knuckle or like the stand heavy punch from Ariza, right? Where because they do have such heavy blocks, then if they actually connect, like, you don't really register that the recovery is really slow if it's not actually a block or a hit on the move. So because of that, if you're able to absorb it with a drive impact, like you said, it's not a Dragon Lash. They're not free to act immediately after you see the animation. Like, my man Luke is like breathing heavy after he does a heavy flash knuckle. So you can absorb that and still have plenty of time to connect before he's able to act at all.
Yeah. And it's something that I just got to see more of. Like, obviously when they got that level 3, they're always going to buffer.
Yeah, level 3 is a different story for sure.
But yeah, but like, we see MenaRD use it so much, as well as like a way to, you know, they do drive rush into the heavy flash knuckle to bait out your buttons and things like that. And it's like, if you just wait an extra second and then DI, like, oh well, you're gonna stop that real soon.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, and then that is like such a heavy discouragement to the opponent, right? Like, eating a punish counter drive impact hurts so bad that they will definitely adjust their game plan. Right here, my man DCQ, bro. He is quite the JP player, ain't he? He's like, tech throw, level 2. I see you drive rushing.
JP flowchart.
OD amnesia.
Level 2, okay. We're not. Okay, OD amnesia. Let's go.
Yeah, you're able to act so quickly after that level 2, right? 1 frame startup, 7 frames of recovery. So you're free. It's an 8 frame total move. You're free to act so fast.
Well, it's definitely one of the best traps. So like a V-trigger activation type effect, right?
Yeah, very, very close to it, pretty much. So this one, one of the only timestamps I had, because it really was, to me, just a lot of DCQ sitting there, not committing to stuff and reacting and, you know, cashing out big when he gets those hits that he's looking for. One of the things I did like was later on in the set, we saw Mena go with a combo here where he does like triple light punches into level 1. And I really like this usage, actually, because, again, we talked about holding on to that drive gauge, right? If he does like a drive rush confirm off of this light, he's going to be at half a bar at the end of this. So you're like, okay, maybe you just go for like a special cancel then, right? And take the little bit of damage. But the reason I like him using the level 1 here is because after this, it's pretty close to him getting like a double drive rush combo into a kill, right? It is Luke. He'll build to level 1 if he does the double drive rush combo. And especially after this throw, you're 100% dead if he gets a hit here and goes into double drive rush. So I just like that kind of long-term recognition of willing to spend the level 1, because you know with that above 3 bars, that damage that it allows you to get will be enough for the next combo.
Yeah, I think especially when you're on the game point, like, you're not gonna get level 3 or anything, so you know, are you saving it for level 2? Like, not really, so you may as well use it. Yeah, if it gives you a better situation.
Yeah, I really like that for Mena. Level 2, just such a menace to deal with, man. Yeah, just right there going up. He had just blocked the low, right, and then he makes him block another low when he knows the high one's next. It's just such a tough space to get caught in. You can't blame anyone for getting hit low right there. You know the high one's coming next for the super.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the answer there is you hold parry if you're MenaRD.
Yeah, true.
You're also at a point where that punish counter throw can kill, so that's now a threat.
Yeah.
You know, there are situations where you get hit by his level 2 and the punish counter throw doesn't kill, so you should just take it. But yeah, that was. I mean, also he seemed so far away, and then he suddenly wasn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, he's like, oh,
true.
I'm just gonna block this normally, and then he's like, oh, oops, that reached. Like, I got it.
Yeah, that's one of the things, right, where it's like maybe he tried to parry, and then I don't know, like, because when you're at neutral when the super first starts, you can like parry the first hit and then jump back, right? But he was like recovering when it started, so a bit of a funkier timing, I think, because he parries initially but then doesn't hold it, and he just gets caught having to block after the tap parry. Yeah, definitely a tough spot to be in.
Full advantage of that, and I think you know, especially from the first game, it felt like MenaRD was doing his usual, kind of trying to bulldog his way through, and you know, it was working for a time because DCQ just wasn't answering him, but then he started to answer him, and now MenaRD slowed it down, and it just doesn't look as comfortable for him.
Yeah.
Whereas DCQ is like, he's playing the game that he wants to play.
Yeah, he's like chilling. Look at how little he commits to things in neutral, right? As JP, usually you see the JP so active with the APM, trying to put up departure, trying to feint the ghost, trying to put up spikes. But like, he was so calm, cool, and collected. And like at that neutral range, if he didn't already have an advantage like this, he just sat there and was like, what are you going to do? Like, I have a great drive rush check tool. I'll throw out a sweep, sure, right? From that distance, like, you're not going to expect it. Lots of neutral jump, just a lot of low commitment options. And he just kind of picked Mena apart because he never had to do much.
Yeah, and against a player like Mena, that's kind of how you want to play. You just want to do the low risk stuff, the high percentage plays, because, you know, MenaRD is the type of guy who will go for the low percentage play and win it. So if you just keep yourself nice and safe, and that's basically what he looked to do. And obviously, once you get going, obviously, as I mentioned before, it is the type of game where you want to continue your offense and you want to finish the game rather than just sit back and relax. But, you know, he just waits for those opportunities to come.
Yeah, and it's like there's one time that he gets impatient, and like from the mid range he does OD departure, and Mena just level 3s it on reaction, and it's like, well, you know, I guess that's why you don't do it. I think it's after here he gets his drive gauge back from this distance. He's like, I'll do OD departure. I haven't done it all
6
set.
bars, like, yummy.
Yeah. So, you know, because of that, the one time he actually commits to something at that range, Mena shows why he's been playing the way he's played up until that point. Because you cannot let this man do something. He's got great reactions. He's got the answers at the forefront of his mind constantly. You just can't give him that opportunity.
Ready to maybe see a reverse sweep, right? Like, MenaRD is nearly making this incredible comeback in this last round.
Yeah.
And then something put a stop to it, you know?
Indeed, right? So he gets DCQ in the corner here. DCQ, man, I can't believe how much meter he built right here. I didn't even notice that. He had 2.5 bars going into this OD Amnesia.
How much did OD Amnesia give you?
It gave him a huge chunk. Look at that.
Oh my.
Look at that.
You just landed a parry.
I did not even realize that, right, at the time, because I was like, man, going for a throw against JP, always dangerous because he gets a fat reward if he OD amnesias it, right? But I was like, man, when it's level 3, the risk reward is so dangerous. But he wasn't even at level 3. He was 2.5 bars. Like, and he actually built to level 3 from the combo, dude. Oh,
crazy.
man.
Insane, man. I mean, you know, that's what I was just saying, right? MenaRD is that type of player who will go for these low percentage plays because it would work under normal circumstances where, you know, your opponent's not expecting it. But in this case, DCQ's like, hey, I'm 2 games up. I can take this risk. I don't care. I'm just going to do the OD Amnesia. And, well, you know, we all know what happens when you get hit by OD Amnesia.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, and then the extra, you know, salt in the wound was the fact that, like you said, MenaRD was in danger of being burnt out. He didn't actually build enough bar. He was so close to getting just past the threshold of being burnt out on that combo. But just in time, gets the level 3 out and then burns him. And we've always talked about it, right? Being in burnout against JP, that's probably the worst character to be in burnout against.
You basically had to hold forward there or do something there, and obviously DCQ was just ready for it.
So yeah, big ups to versus Vortex, taking down Bandits, right? Bandits definitely one of the favorites to go very far in SFL US, but versus Vortex, they are no joke. Having the likes of Xian, NL, and DCQ on that team, as well as Oil King, like that's one of the favorites, right? They make up a lot of the team that won the last SFL US. So you can't sleep on them at all.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, this is a pretty big, big loss for Bandits. To be fair, I think they're in second in the table, very close to NASA, which are the #1 team. So that's going to let NASA pull ahead even more. Who I don't believe they've lost yet. Punk hasn't lost, so I think he's played every time. So I don't think they've managed to lose yet.
Nah, they haven't lost. We've seen some close calls, right, where it goes down to like a sudden death, or it goes down to the best of 5 because it's 10-10 up until that point. But they always clutch it out. I mean, that's the power of how broken that team is, right? It's like when they do need to clutch it out, the anchor is gonna be Punk, Angrybird, BigBird, Nephew. Like, pick your poison, right? Nephew just qualified for Capcom Cup. I don't think he's as much in the spotlight as the other 3, but he's on that level as well. It's just a nasty team. All right. But yeah, my man, that was another good week of the SFL US post show. You got anything to conclude with in terms of your thoughts, wrap up, or anything like that?
No, just another good week. How many weeks is SFL US at least?
That's a good question. I feel like we gotta be past the halfway point. I don't know. It's definitely something.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm gonna keep an eye on, because I do want to hit up some of these players.
Usually
as well.
I don't know if they've changed it, but
yeah, I'm not sure. I don't recall in the moment, but I'm going to start getting some of these players on the lines too, because I want to talk about it now, especially because we've seen a lot of weeks go by. I want to get their thoughts heading into like the World Warrior season, a lot of the regional finals. These players are going to be playing in them. I want to kind of get their thoughts on how the SFL experience helped, because as we said, definitely a time chamber of training here at SFL. All the players come out better than they do going in. So yeah, man, I can't wait to get their thoughts. I can't wait to see how all these Capcom Cup qualifiers play out and how SFL plays out, because it has not been as free for, I think, the really broken teams like the Bandits and the Nassers as maybe I was expecting, right? As you saw Bandits just lose here. Nasser has been taken to the brink multiple times. Red Rooster looks really strong versus Vortex looks really strong. Endemic is dangerous. So yeah, man, it's dope that all these teams looking real strong.
Yeah, it's honestly very exciting, I think. I didn't expect it to be this competitive in terms of how close all the teams are, how close all the players are. Like, I don't think we've seen really any player properly dominate. I think even Punk against PR Balrog last week struggled a bit. So yeah, it's one of these things that I think is really, really good to see, right? You always want it to be competitive. And so far, pretty much every team has impressed, me watching it.
Yes, indeed. And then tomorrow, SFL Europe starts. So that's going to be another dope one to watch out for. We'll have all 3 SFLs going, Japan, Europe, and US. So much Street Fighter 6 action and fighting game action to go around right now. Like you just said, the Grand Blue beta had wrapped up. I think a Uni beta is starting this week or some nonsense like that.
This weekend, yeah. So I'm away, so I can't play it, sadly. But, I'm sure someone might have it at the offline.
100%. People will be bringing that setup, guaranteed. So thanks everybody once again for tuning in for another episode of the USFL. The United States Football League, the USSFL post show with myself and Lazarus. This was episode 5. We'll be back next week with episode 6, breaking it down as we close in on the season for the United States and maybe move on to other regions. Stay tuned.